All right, welcome into the show. I'm your host, Chris. You can find me on Twitter at CFB07. And there's my co-host, Austin. How you doing, brother?
What's up, man?
Oh, it's going good. We're doing this early in the week for anybody that usually watches us on Thursday because my co-host here has a team that is currently still competing in March Madness, while my team got bounced in the first round. Some of us gets to enjoy the awesomeness of possibly going to an Elite Eight. So that's why we're doing the show Tuesday, not
You
Thursday.
know, I was thinking about this earlier. Outside of college football, okay, obviously we all know how we feel about that. Is this late March, early April? You have March Madness going on. You got college baseball getting into league play, interleague play. You have MLB starting. 1st of April, you got the Masters going on and golf. Greatest time of year for sports outside of college football?
100%. Like
I
this
I
time,
agree, man.
because
And I don't
like
know if
when
it's because you have that hiatus from from the national, or we'll call it the Super Bowl, but really the national championship till March Madness where there's nothing. So I don't know if it's just you're starved so much for good sports, but I agree. But anyhow, I mean to cut you off.
oh no, I was gonna let you finish. No, I agree because like as soon as the football season ends, like I'm a little sad because it's ending, but then I'm kind of like, especially now that we do this show and it takes a lot of work to do these shows, it's kind of like relief a little bit,
Yeah.
and but then you got recruiting that kind of holds you over a little bit, and you got a few other things, but then college basketball starts to really pick up, and then college baseball starting and all that, so that usually holds me over through March. And then you got college baseball and MLB opening up. Yeah, I agree. Like this March and April is like the best, other than college football, the best time of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So
All right.
yeah, Thursday, like you said, Sweet 16 plus opening day for MLB.
MLB. Go Braves.
So go Braves, man. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, let's get
But
into our news and notes. We had a familiar thing happen in Athens here recently. Marcus Easley, red shirt offensive lineman, he was arrested after crashing into an apartment building. I'm not laughing because of that. I'm just laughing at the the craziness of it. According to the police report, Easley was driving a 2021 Dodge Challenger, lost control, left the roadway where it struck a power box and two other cars. According to the report, Easley said he was going 25 to 30 miles per hour. The police determined that was probably a lie because of the tire marks and streaks and all that they determined he was laying drag. I didn't know what that meant. So, but apparently means he apparently he had six people in the car, which that's even more alarming, or that's just as alarming. Six people in a Dodge Challenger. Um, but it sounds like to me it wasn't drag racing. I was able to confirm that, but it sounded like to me he went to a buddy's house, showed off his new car. Some friends got into it, and he gassed it to show off, one of those type deals, and then lost control. I mean, it's a pretty
yeah,
powerful car. And then a second arrest happened. Actually, the Nitro Tuggle, wide receiver for UGA, he was arrested for misdemeanor speeding and reckless driving. That arrest was actually the one that got reported. The Easley one wasn't even out there yet until some beat writers found it in the arrest stuff. And yeah, that makes 22 total driving related arrests since the start of 2023. Um, I'll go ahead and just say my piece. It's a problem. I think that something, I don't know, something maybe different needs to be done. It's getting kind of ridiculous at this point. At the same time, I've seen some back and forth on Twitter about, Kirby has a cultural issue. There's a cultural issue at UGA, and I can't get down with that. I've read the reports from many UGA writers that have talked about all the things Kirby and UGA is doing to try to curb this stuff. And it's at the end of the day, man, it's just I don't know. There's not really much you can do after these kids are on their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how they're all driving related. Like, I, maybe Kirby just needs to make everybody take a driver's ed course and learn how to drive.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I don't know if maybe it has something to do with the layout of Athens. Athens has a lot of hills, but a lot of straightaways too. And maybe it just, I'm with you. I don't see it as a coach's issue. It's just weird that it's all related to the same thing.
Yeah, and I can say some of the things that I've read that Kirby's doing. I'm not going to say it all because it was behind a paywall, so I don't want to be disrespectful to the guys that do that. But I've read that he's the president of the UGA is involved, the athletic director, and Kirby Smart. They've implemented NIL fines into these guys' contracts. Since they want to be paid like the pros, Kirby's like, you're going to get fined like the pros. So they get fined. They've had cops. They get fined anytime they have an arrest or driving related stuff. They get fined for it. So money comes out of their NIL deals. Like they're not.
Right.
They get fined for it. They got to pay a fine. I know that I read he has had state troopers come to UGA and talk to the team. I know recently he apparently went like psycho on them at practice about it. He's kind of lost his temper over it. There's all kind of things Kirby's doing. Everything I've read, I was like, I mean, those are great things that he's doing. I think just at the end of the day, I don't know. Other than what do you want him to do? Putting a gun to her head and make them?
Yeah. I don't know. That it's. I mean, I want to say. I mean, we've talked about the issues of an 18-year-old making the kind of money that they're able to make in these NIL deals now. Especially some of these kids that come from absolutely nothing to now having, being able to buy anything they want. You're gonna have some issues like that, but it's just weird how it's centralized around Georgia and Athens.
Yeah.
We've talked about the police force in Athens before, wondering if maybe they were just a little strict. But hell, I mean, if you're driving through apartment complexes, ain't a whole lot you can do, to cover that up. So
I do think, and I'm gonna sound like a homer here, and nowhere, screw it. I do think the Athens PD is definitely more strict because I refuse to believe this isn't happening in other places.
yeah,
Especially like you said with NIL and these guys driving the kind of cars that they're driving. I don't know. Call me Homer, conspiracy, whatever. I just refuse to believe, it's not happening in Tuscaloosa or Knoxville or
I agree.
Gainesville. Like every single one of those guys are not. I just think Athens PD. It's been. If you're a Georgia fan, you know where I'm coming from because it's been kind of notoriously known that
Hey,
police department is.
they're in the news right now with old girl.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know
So
her name. So you seen that?
I seen that. I haven't read it though, but I've been meaning to read it. It's crazy. She got
Yeah,
arrested twice, right?
twice. Yeah, her mugshot went viral last week, and then apparently she got arrested again this weekend. So,
That's
um,
crazy. But all right, well, let's get to the second part of the news and notes. We're gonna kind of do this like every week since it's spring. We're gonna talk about some quarterback battles because I feel like there's a lot of them. Tonight we're gonna focus on two big ones, Bama and Georgia. I went and read some practice reports across all sports sites and all that, and got some info. But the Bama one, also, I want to see if you agree with me. Between the Bama and Georgia one, from everything I've read, it really does seem like one of them competitions is legit and the other one is not. And I think the Bama one is actually a legit competition.
you
I
know,
don't think the Georgia one's much of a competition from everything
I
I've read.
yeah, I agree. If it wasn't Ryan Grubb coming in this year, having his guy come from Washington, Austin Mack.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would be a competition because from everything I've read, Ty Simpson's leadership is what really has put him kind of on top. But I just find it hard to believe that Austin Mack transferred all the way across the country to come be with his offensive coordinator, and they're not going to find a way to get this kid to play.
That's been my thought. So yeah, I'm with you. Like everything I've read, I did read a report, I think it was today, that Mac was starting to gain a lot of buzz. I think as of like last Tuesday, I think it was a report from last week actually. But like Tuesday, he had like one of the best practices he's ever had. He's starting to generate a lot of buzz. But in that same report, the general thought was still Ty Simpson led so far. But I have this, I don't know, I have this feeling like that I'm going to predict this. I think Ty Simpson's going to get the job, and I think Mac's going to take it over.
I can see that. I hope that doesn't
Like
mean
similar to, what was that year y'all had a guy play in the opener, like only a couple of series, and then Jalen Hurts took over? God, I
Yeah.
can't remember his name, but you know what I'm talking about.
Who was that?
Was it Cornwell or Blake something? Or
Yeah. That's right.
yeah,
It
it was
was
like Blake
Blake.
something.
Oh,
He went to Arizona State at one point.
he played very little.
Yeah, it was like one series, I think.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
even that. I think it was like maybe one play.
I don't know. Just from what I've seen, I think Austin Mack would give a little more dynamic to the offense and being able to, I think will be very limited with Ty Simpson. I mean, I think he's a good quarterback. I just don't know how he'll fit, in the system. So
The thing that concerns me the most is like, and I'm not trying to crap on Jalen Milroe, but there were so many times he played so bad last year, and not with Mac. It's because he was still young. I think he was a freshman last year, right?
yeah, I think.
Yeah, so he's a freshman. So I'm going to exclude him from this conversation.
Mac wasn't there yet.
Yeah, he was.
Was he? I thought he just
Yeah,
transferred in this year from Washington.
No, he came in.
He came with him. He came with him.
him.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah, he came with him.
You're right.
I think so. I think the thing that concerns me with Ty Simpson the most is how bad Milroe played at times, and I don't even think it was in thought to bench Milroe for Ty.
Yeah,
that concerns me the most. And with Mac, like you said, Mac is handpicked by DeBoer and Ryan Grubb when they were at Washington. That was going to be their quarterback they took from the recruiting class, and then Grubb leaves. And then he comes back, and I mean, I don't know. I just think it's lining up for Mac to get that job.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. And I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I like Ty Simpson. He's done a good job doing what he was supposed to do. And I still respect the kid that sits behind, and waits his turn to play. But at the same time, in today's game, I mean, we've talked about this before. I can love you all I want, but if you ain't the right guy for the job that's going to win the most football games, then, you're not just going to get the job because it's your turn.
Yeah.
So
the Georgia one, I don't think this one is even close. Like here's the thing that I don't think people realize with the Gunner and the Ryan Puglitsky battle, if there is even really a battle. Yes, Ryan Puglitsky has been in the system, but this is actually, if you really think about it, this is actually his actual first spring. Yes, he was here last spring, but I think outside of Georgia fans, people don't know this. He was hurt all last spring. Right. He came in hurt from the recruiting. Like he was hurt. So he missed all spring last year. So this is actually his very first real true spring versus a guy that's been here for a couple of years and then also got the experience in the SEC championship game, got the experience in the playoff, played backup last year. I just don't. I don't think it's. I think it's Gunnar Stockson's job, and I don't even think it's close. I mean, I'm not saying Puglitsky couldn't, do something, from here out, but everything I've read, it seems like he's talented. He's good.
Are you saying is Gunner's job strictly off of like experience versus lack of well, I won't even say Gunner's experience, but more
Yeah,
so Puglowski's. God, we got to figure out how to say that
yeah,
name
we
if he
got.
does
I'm
get a
gonna just say
starting job.
Pug.
Yeah, I can't do that. Um, anyhow, is it his lack of experience that you think will give Gunner the nod, or is it pure? Is it talent?
I think Gunner's better right now. From
Okay.
everything I've read, like I think that I don't know what better means. That means is he just better than Ryan, or is he like playing like? What I'm saying is like everything I've read, Gunner is just outperforming him, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like Gunner is the better quarterback. Gunner is knows the system really well, can do the checks and the protections, and knows the
That
playbook and all that
that's
stuff.
what I was gonna say. That's what people don't realize, and I wish Season was on tonight because he could probably talk a little bit more X's and O's about this. But there's a lot more to being a college quarterback than just saying hike and dropping 3 steps back and throwing a football.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there's not a quarterback at a top university that can't throw a football. That's like going to the PGA Tour saying a golfer sucks. No, every single person there is the best golfer you or I have ever seen. Kind of the same thing, you know, if they're just standing there with nobody, no calls to make or anything, they can all throw a football better than anybody we've ever seen. So, um, I think that's the kind of stuff that we don't, you don't see or hear about enough.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know, man. The quarterback's pretty easy on NCAA 25, so I think I could do it.
Well, was there like 4 buttons you got to hit?
Yeah, exactly. And I just won the Heisman in my 2040th year of
Really?
my dynasty mode. Yeah, so I think I could do it. 41 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
What an NIL deal is going to be sweet next year, ain't
Yeah.
it?
All right. Let's move on. Stanford fires. Well, let me back up. Last week we talked about it. Troy Taylor had a couple of well, one or two investigations, apparently verbal abuse, sexist remarks, just not a good look. ESPN reported it, and then literally a week later, he's been fired. Stanford fired him. I don't think that's. I think we all kind of knew that was probably coming at some point.
Yeah, I
Usually when
said that
reports like
last week.
yeah, usually when reports like that come out, it's not. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. But I thought the most fascinating part of this thing that actually happened wasn't that he got fired. It was the fact that the general manager of Stanford, Andrew Luck, which if you're a diehard college football fan, we all know who Andrew Luck is. Um, he fired him, and he's going to be picking a new head coach. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I read his statement, and it almost feels like he just kind of used this as an excuse. It feels like he wanted to let him go strictly due to football operations. Um, and this was just a perfect out to say, hey, maybe it's time to cut ways. Did you get that?
Yeah, I did when I read it
Yeah.
because like the funny thing is like they knew about all this stuff before ESPN reported it. It's funny that they decide to
Yeah.
now fire. Why didn't you fire him? Like, I think the investigation didn't just happen. This investigation had been done, wrapped up. Honestly, I think this is a potential lawsuit. I think Troy Taylor's probably going to sue him, because that investigation didn't just happen. I think it was over a year ago. I
Hmm.
don't know. I'm not a legal expert, but I feel like there's some ground to stand there that you wait a year to fire me.
Yeah.
Seems
How
like it. I don't know. It doesn't really seem. I hate saying this because I don't know their intention, but it really does not seem like he was fired because of that. Because
right.
you had opportunities to fire him.
That's what I'm saying. It feels like they were looking for a way out, already. So
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
with Andrew Luck coming in and kind of saying like we're all in on football right now, how attractive is the Stanford job?
In this landscape, I just don't think it's very attractive.
I don't feel like it is either.
I think the uncertainty. I mean, somebody's going to take the job because I think we all know head coaches, they all have an ego and think they can fix everything. And,
Right.
if I can get Stanford, da 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 da. But I think in this landscape, especially with the uncertainty of the ACC, I mean, we're probably 5 years away from that place being the new Pac-12, where it's completely dead and doesn't exist anymore. I don't see its attractiveness. I think you could go if I was Stanford, if I was the GM, since I watch a lot of FCS football because I think FCS football is just as fun to watch. I would go try to find the hot shot FCS head coach, and which I know that was what Troy Taylor was. He was the hot FCS coach at Sacramento State. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
But I thought that was a genius hire because at that time, I mean, he was killing it in the FCS. And I know a lot of times schools don't want to do the same thing twice, but I don't know. I would try again and go find a hot shot FCS because I don't think you're going to attract, like, say you're, I don't know, Glenn Schumann at Georgia. You would just rather be the DC at Georgia, take that job.
Yeah, probably.
I wouldn't even think about it twice. They'd call me and I wouldn't even answer. I'm like, heck no, I can get paid, $2 million to be the DC at UGA and have job security. I'm not anywhere near the hot seat, and I can just wait. I can wait on something else. I mean, Florida may be open next year. Oklahoma. No, I'm not taking that Stanford job. But anyway, all right, let's go. Let's go to our coaches we think are going to win their first national championship. Win their first national championship. We're gonna do this like in a draft. Austin, we're gonna each get 4 picks each. Austin is gonna get the first pick because I'm gonna be generous. And plus I just kick his butt in all the fantasy games we play and all that. So I just want to be nice. And give him a shot. So you got the first pick. You're what?
Honestly, I mean, I don't know if you said this, but this is coaches. Yeah, you did to win their first national championship, right?
Yeah. So that excludes like Kirby Smart, Dabo Sweeney, Ryan Day, any coach that's won a national championship.
Are those the only active coaches that have a national championship right now?
I think it's Kirby, Dabo, and Ryan Day. Yeah. There ain't nobody else.
That's crazy.
It is. It's kind of wild. Now that Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh retired, or not Nick Saban retired, Jim Harbaugh,
right? Still,
that's it.
Anyhow, sorry we didn't talk about that, but that kind of just hit me that was it.
Yeah.
So, I think we know who the top 2 guys are. I cannot decide which way I want to go. As much as I want to go Dan Lanning, I think it's going to be Shark.
Oh.
I'm going to go Steve Sarkisian. I think I mean they were right there last year. I think the quarterback play's about to get better. And I think the way they, not to sound like Nick Saban, but the way they competed their first year in the SEC, it was impressive. He's been building that team to get ready for that. And I think in the SEC schedule, I mean, heck, it showed last year. Playing an SEC schedule year in, year out prepares you for championship football or playoff style football. So that's the reason I think I'm giving the nod.
Yeah, like you said, and we talked about this on the phone. I don't think you go wrong with either one. We kind of both knew, and I think if anybody that's watching this probably knew who the first 2 coaches off the board was going to be. It was either going to be Dan Lanning or Steve Sarkisian. I can't argue against either one. So that obviously means I'm going to pick Dan Lanning with my first pick. I just think same stuff that you said about Sarkisian, you could say about Dan Lanning. I think the way he's recruited. The only thing, Sarkisian has further advance in the playoffs than Dan Lanning, so I give him the leg up there.
Honestly, I think that's what gave me the beat
Mm-hmm.
down in the playoffs last year. I truly think is what just had me kind of like, can he win it?
Yeah, it's fair.
You know,
It's a
same
fair. It's fair.
there. There's a couple of other guys that are kind of in the top. We'll call it top 10. Uh, that I'm like, they probably deserve to be on the list, but can they actually win it?
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. I think Dan Lanning. I really didn't know who I was going to go with if I had the first pick, or if I was trying to put myself like in your shoes. Like if I had the first pick, I had a tough. Either one, I think, is fine. But I do agree that Sarkisian may have a slight edge because of the playoff success versus Dan Lanning's playoff success. All right, let's go to your second pick. This is where it gets fun, I think.
Man, this is where I don't know.
I still don't know who mine is either. I wrote down a couple of names that I'm considering, and then I'm just gonna go with who you pick and like just go from there.
I want to be a homer.
Yeah, going to
Going Kalen
board.
DeBoer.
I like it. He was on
Um,
my list. I
I,
thought I was gonna be able to grab him though later.
yeah, I keep seeing me look at my phone. I've got 10 coaches wrote down just because I didn't know who you would pick and who. And I don't know. I think bringing Ryan Grubb in, I think getting the system. One of the things that I love reading is AL.com interviewed like a bunch of they interviewed the center and a couple of offensive linemen, and every one of them said the exact same thing, that it didn't matter to them which quarterback was in. They got to play their same game. The offense seemed to move almost exactly the same, no matter what quarterback was back there. And that tells me that we're getting the system down, right?
Yeah,
And I think as you get the system down and then you grab that special quarterback who I think Austin Mack can be. And if not him, I definitely think Keelan Russell uh, can be it in the next year or two. Um, I think. Look, I was not impressed with Kalen DeBoer's first year at Alabama, but I think he had a lot more to get used to at coaching Alabama than realizing, hey, I got to do more than just coach football here. Just because there's just more to it. I think he's going to do well, and that's my number 2 pick.
I like it. I had him on my list, and I was actually hoping to get him with the third pick, my third pick. I was gonna sneak him in there. I didn't think you were actually gonna pick him at all.
I didn't
Um,
either.
I mean, the man coached in the national championship with the team in
That went
in
1 and
Washington.
11 or something
Yeah,
2 years prior. So
yeah. So I mean, I don't think it's a bad pick. Man, that leaves me in a predicament because this is the I thought. I'll be honest. With this pick. It's between. Oh man, it's between the two fan bases that, funny enough, are not rivals on the field, but are definitely rivals on Twitter. Um, I'm down to Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman. I really thought you wouldn't go one of those two, so I was going to force my hand to pick the other one. I did not think I was going to have the option of either. Golly. And I can't get out of my head that Brian Kelly, how he's recruited this last week. I'm trying not to let that cloud my judgment. I'm going Marcus Freeman. Season's going to kill me. I'm going Marcus Freeman. I'm going Marcus Freeman because I just watched that man go to a national championship after he lost to, I can't even, Northern Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
who was not some. It's not like Northern Illinois was the darling G5 that went and made the G5 spot in the 12-team playoff. They weren't that great of a team.
Right.
We wrote them off. They were dead in the water. We mocked them. We laughed at them. In over his head. He then proceeded to reel off like 10 or 11 straight wins or 9 or something like that. Got into the playoff. I kind of thought they were dead there because, I mean, it was evident their biggest struggle all year is they couldn't complete a freaking pass 10 yards down the field. They were really limited. They had injuries out the yin yang, and they made it all the way to the national championship. And I'm not trying to take a shot at Penn State, but they didn't do it by beating Boise State and SMU. They did it by beating Georgia, Penn State, and then getting there. Now, granted, they met Ohio State, and it is what it
Yeah.
is. But
Yeah.
I'm just super impressed with the job he did, and I really think he could win a national championship.
I don't disagree with you. It does worry me that Notre Dame isn't Notre Dame just makes it harder to win national championships just with everything that they have going. Look, you're right. They made it all the way to the national championship this year, so I guess I can't really say that. But to be fair, they have a so-so schedule, but they did run the tables after that Northern Illinois game. Then they get to the playoffs and they play a very injured Georgia. Um, they beat Penn State, and then they get to Ohio State, and that game right there is what scares me of where I see like Notre Dame ceiling is being able to kind of they beat some high. They beat Georgia, right? But that wasn't a normal Georgia team. Let's
Mm-hmm.
be honest. If Georgia's full power, they destroyed that Notre Dame team as much as it. And I guess I should preface by saying I love this Notre Dame team and I love Marcus Freeman, but I just feel like that is going to be kind of their ceiling. I think at best they make it to the championship, but I don't know that they'll ever be good enough to, assuming that the team they're playing is their starting quarterback didn't get hurt in the semifinals or something.
I've got to get
But
our TikTok fixed
yeah,
because
don't
I'm
don't
going to
do
clip.
that.
Oh, you know I am.
I know you
I'm
are.
going to clip that, and because Notre Dame fans absolutely loved us on TikTok after all our praise during the playoffs, and I am absolutely going to clip that and get them to absolutely hate us. All
So
right,
with
so
that, I'll make my third pick at Brian Kelly.
I like it. It was hard for me to pick between them two. I could end up regretting this, but talk about Brian Kelly.
You know, you're right. I was a little worried about Brian Kelly. Um, LSU just hadn't progressed like I wanted to see him progress, and I was worried how he might be. I mean, guy's not a spring chicken anymore. You know,
Yeah.
does he have does I don't want to say does he have what it takes from a skill set, but does he have what it takes from an age set to to rebuild a program and kind of get it back to the top. But I'm with you. I think what he's been doing in recruiting and things like that has kind of shown that he's still all in it. And I mean, honestly, I mean, hate to say it, he could be number one. It could be next season.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
what they have returning.
He was
Um,
honestly under consideration for me at number 2.
yeah.
So
No, I mean,
over
I
Dan
think
Lanning.
wow.
I mean, he's been to a national championship. Dan Lanning hasn't.
You're right.
I think he's been to 2, hasn't he?
Think so.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so he's been to 2. Brian Kelly's a great coach. I'm probably going to end up regretting taking him, not taking him over Marcus Freeman, but I'm a Marcus Freeman guy. So Ooh, my third one's gonna be controversial. I think you know what I'm doing. F it. He could change jobs after this year. I don't know if he necessarily can do it at the job he's at right now, although I do think he could have last year. Lane Kiffin, baby. I'm going Lane Kiffin. And I'm going to get so much hate on this because he's a controversial figure and a lot of people think he's an average coach. But I'm going Lane. I think if you can get one of his Ole Miss teams, I think if Ole Miss got in the playoffs last year, they legit could have went to the national championship. But who's to say he does it while he's at Ole Miss? He may. There's going to be, I think, next year, this season. I think we're going to have a pretty good amount of big jobs opening next year. Who's to say he don't take an FSU job?
That's
Could you
my
imagine that?
next.
Who's to say he doesn't go to the Gators?
That would be crazy, dude. If Lane Kiffin gets to Florida, where he could
It would make my
recruit,
pick look. Yeah, it would make my pick look great. I think he would absolutely win a national championship at Florida.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm going Lane, and yeah, I knew he was a possibility for you. I didn't think you were actually going to do it, but I wanted to go ahead and just do it.
I had him on there. Was that your third pick?
Yeah,
Okay, so you got one more.
yeah, you got
And
you got your
this is
last
my
one.
last one. I'll tell you what. I've had this guy's name wrote down, and I'm picking him based on I think he takes one of these big jobs coming up.
Ooh,
Although I think he can make the playoffs this next season.
mm.
We hadn't mentioned his name at all.
Mm-hmm.
Going Matt Campbell.
Oh wow, that is definitely going on TikTok. That's a shocker there.
Um, yeah, I don't, dude. Everybody else that I look at, I just don't feel like they can actually win a championship. And I mean, the guys won at Iowa State, and I just think that we're about to have. I mean, you're about to have USC, Oklahoma, Florida. Let's just say. I mean, these are all hot seat jobs right now. Florida State, uh, what Auburn. I mean, you name it. I could see it happening. So I'm gonna go outside the box with the fourth pick and go Matt Campbell.
I like it because I went Lane and then you kind of countered it with an even more shocking one. When I clip these, hopefully clip them tonight or tomorrow and put them on our social medias. I don't think my Lane Kiffin thing's going to get much attention at all now. It's going to be about Matt Campbell and you thinking he can. Wow, I ain't gonna lie, I disagree. I don't think he's gonna get. Here's where I disagree. I do think he's a fine coach. I think he's a great coach. I just don't think he's gonna take a bigger job.
Really?
I really don't. I know he was. There was some USC chatter from him. Um, I don't see it. Maybe Wisconsin could open up. I think he'd be, but I don't think Wisconsin's a big job
I
enough.
don't
Like
think it. I think it could go bigger
uh,
than that.
And there was a lot of USC smoke with him before Riley was hired. Like there was a lot of smoke. I just don't think he's gonna take. I don't know. Maybe he will. I don't think he will though. That's where I don't think it'll happen. But um, I don't know. Now I'm kind of talking myself into it could happen. There's a lot of jobs that's fixing to come up, and he did just come off an 11-win season. If he can kind of duplicate it and get back into the Big 12 championship game, I don't know. I could see it. Somebody's gonna hire him. I'm just trying to think of
a
what
lot of
big jobs.
a lot of people are picking them to win the Big 12 championship this year.
Yeah, I just don't. I honestly don't think he's going to take an SEC job. I think he would stay in the Midwest/West Coast.
I don't disagree.
I just don't. I'm trying to think of what Midwest jobs could open other than Wisconsin. That would be big. I mean, obviously not Ohio. Michigan.
I don't think Michigan's ready to open up yet.
I mean, I don't either. But if he goes 7-6, I don't know. Maybe
Possibly.
not. Maybe he gets another year.
I'm telling you, USC job. I don't care about a $90 million buyout. USC job's just an open.
That would. Maybe
It's
they maybe
coming.
they circle back and get him.
It's coming.
Yeah. All right, man. That leaves me. Whew. This is tough. I've got 3 guys left that I wrote down. I think it's obvious. Now I got to do it, even though I'm not his biggest fan, and he chokes a lot.
You Mark Rick coattail. All right.
I'm gonna go James Franklin. I'm gonna do it. He definitely has the team to do it this year. Well, assuming maybe they find some outside help at wide receiver, but I'm gonna pick him just based solely off the fact that they could be a team that could win it next year. Like they have a legit shot to win it next year. So I could go ahead and win this competition with you and nip it in the butt. I feel like I have 2 legit shots next year in Dan Lanning and James Franklin. That it could happen. And James Franklin's a good coach. There's a lot of he's a really good coach. I just don't think he's a great coach. He chokes in a lot of big games. I think his record was like 1-20 or something against top 5 teams or top 10 teams. But it's my last pick, and I've got guys like Dan Lanning, Marcus Freeman. I'll take them and end it with that. And
yeah, I mean, look, your list is kind of funny to me because great list. I'm not talking trash, but it's funny because you do have a lot of guys on there that probably, I don't know, if you were asked 10 years ago, there's a couple guys on there you probably would have picked that have already had one.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Franklin. Hell, probably Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
But be interesting to see if they can finally get over the hump.
Yeah, big year for him. Big year. I was texting him a season. I'm not going to give it away, but when we do our post spring top 25, he may have one of these coaches as the number 1 team in the country. I don't know. You have to tune into that show down the road. Yeah, so I have Dan Lanning, Marcus Freeman, Lane Kiffin, James Franklin. Austin has Sarkisian, DeBoer, Brian Kelly, and Matt Campbell. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. Pretty fun exercise. Little shorter show than normal. Next week, we'll be back. I'll go ahead.
Here's one question to end on.
All right.
Do one of these guys get it next year?
Man, I don't want to give it away. F it. I think Sarkisian. Yeah. I was texting a season earlier. I haven't decided this yet. I don't know. I'm starting to buy more and more of that Texas hype. And it has nothing to do with Arch Manning. Nothing to do with the offense. I actually think their defense is so elite that it could rival. I don't think it's going to come close. I don't think it's going to be 2021 UGA. I think it's going to be really close to that. Their defense played really good. I think the Ohio State game doesn't get talked about enough about how well they contained that offense to a point where they stayed in that game and kept it close and almost won it. I think that defense can really carry them really far this season. I think they can carry them far enough where like maybe it gives the offense time to catch up. that maybe by week
Fair
7
enough.
and week 8, kind of like I'm not comparing these teams because I don't want any jackass come blowing up my DMs saying I'm Derek. I would never compare these teams, but you remember like when 2019 LSU, it was the offense, and like we would talk about how bad the defense was, and how we didn't think they could win it, go all the way because and then as the year progressed, that defense kind of just got better.
Right.
And it wasn't elite by the end of the year, but it was good enough to let the offense do its thing and win a national championship. I think it could be like the flip thing. Like I think Texas could probably start off, probably a little slow on offense, but the defense kind of carries them. With Ohio State, I know they get week 1 Ohio State, but Ohio State has so many new pieces at quarterback and O-line and all that, and a bunch of places that I think the defense could carry them until, middle of the season, and the offense, picks it up, and Arch Manning maybe starts to show out. So yeah, I go Sarkisian.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
I still think the offense is going to be better.
I do too. I really do.
Like we keep trying to talk ourselves out of it because we still feel like there's a reason that Ewers was starting over him, but I don't know. I've seen enough. I think the offense is going to be better.
Yeah, I do too. All right, like I said, shorter show tonight. We're going to be back next Thursday. Maybe assuming Bama's not in the Elite Eight. No, wait, the Elite Eight would be this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we're good.
Maybe the Final Four to be on a Saturday.
Okay, yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good. So y'all enjoy March Madness. We appreciate the people that tuned in tonight. As we say every week, as the banner says at the bottom of the screen, please subscribe to the YouTube channel at CFB_SZN. And next week we will do our SEC big questions, spring questions. We'll go team by team and ask the one big question that we're curious about this spring. So come join us next week. We'll do the SEC one, then we'll go down the Power 4 list. And, yeah, looking forward to it. So everybody have a good night. We'll see y'all next week.